Hi everybody, it's an absolute pleasure to see you. Pleasure to be here to give these messages to you for the month of November, for all people, beings that believe in love, that know that they are love and that their role in life is just to be who they are. That's it. And I'm recording this on the 1st, on the morning of the 1st. I did try to record a little bit earlier a few times, but that didn't happen. But last night was Halloween, and in the theme of being who you are, the scariest thing to be sometimes, the scariest thing to do is to just be who we are. That's actually the scariest thing. The scariest person, the scariest not costume, to not wear the mask. And I think really the only person it matters that we don't wear the mask to is ourselves. Because we can't be, to a certain extent, we're always presenting ourselves to others, you know? And you know, they're just appropriate behaviors at appropriate times socially. So we're always choosing which parts of ourselves, you know, it's kind of impossible to be our full self all of the time because life draws out different aspects. But that's the beauty, that we find this multiple perspective on who we are. And that we are all unique vehicles for love. And if there's anything that I want to share, it's that. So thank you. Thank you for being a unique vehicle for love. It changes the entire world. So, a very peaceful feeling is washing over me right now whilst I just have a little move around of the cards. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for the emails of support I received. If I haven't emailed you back, email me again, because sometimes I kind of do things in my head that I feel like they've been done. When one lives in presence, one becomes very kind of distracted. It's just you're not sure what's, you know, you lose track of past and future quite a lot. You know that they exist somewhere out there, but you don't give it enough attention for it to pinpoint. So things become interesting sometimes. So I do have to ask for patience. Knight of Pentacles just popped out to say hello. He's saying, shush, stop talking about that. I want to say that there's practical aid. So it's about asking for help with things that we aren't so great at. Delegating. There is someone to delegate and help you with some practical aid. These are the words that I have for that night, practical aid. So, a little bit more shuffling, then I'm going to get these masculine, feminine spread, the masculine, feminine spread out for November. And it's November. Isn't that just amazing? This beautiful, beautiful year. 2 months left of 2017. What a year. And I've seen a few things on social media which say, may the last 2 months of 2017 be the plot twist you were waiting for. Let's do that. Let's ask the cards to show us what's going to be going on for November. And for everyone to get the messages that they need. Maybe not the ones that they want, but always the ones that they need. And let's just go bottom of the deck for the month of November is the Sun. And I love that this is the bottom of the deck for November. This card I had been missing. It hadn't been coming out. I was like, where's the sun gone? The sun was kind of hiding, and I missed it. I was like, I missed the sun in the readings. It was just feels as though every time I got the cards out, it wasn't saying hello. I mean, joy, 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 freedom, expansion, innocence, purity. Major Arcana. I have been feeling, and even before so there's always a bit of a rumination and some thoughts about what's going to come out. And this is, for me, this is like we're stepping into a new world. There has been a real shift over the past 10 days or so, I'm going to say, into very different spaces for people. And it's been there in the weekly masculine feminine readings, and I hope it's going to come out now. So I'm going to start with the masculine. First card for the masculine is the King of Wands. This is a very tight shot. So, second card, the Six of Wands for the masculine. Third card for the masculine, the Seven of Swords. Fourth card for the masculine, the Seven of Pentacles. Interesting. First card for the feminine. Ooh, Six of Swords. Second card for the feminine, Ace of Cups. Third card for the feminine, Nine of Pentacles. Fourth card for the feminine, Death. Now he was saying hello quite a lot, that Death card, when I was preparing for this reading. Crown. Feminine. I'm going to go masculine now. Root. Bottom of the deck, the Sun. So, joyful, joyful, joyful. Which I do believe is a hymn that I could hear then. The meaning, I mean the name of it anyway. So let's have a little delve into what's happening. Just having a little look, a little feel in. Okay, so the masculine starts off with this King of Wands. This is the masculine embracing his spirituality, his creativity, his passion, and his fire. The Wands right now are really representing to me this idea of some kind of divine force that moves through us and guides and fuels and leads us. What has been happening for the masculine in every reading I've been doing recently, and what is going on in a general scale and has happened and will become apparent during November is that the masculine is realizing that logic is not working, is not practical, is not yielding the results that it once did. 2 and 2 is no longer equaling 4. His experience is 2 and 2 is equaling 5, and then it's equaling 0, and then it's equaling 10, and it's like all these random, very illogical outcomes. And it's not making him happy. And so he's realizing that he's finding power and flow in this idea, this divine force, this the spirit or intuition. But it's really like this life working through him. And there's an excitement about that to him. It's just, I'm actually not going to do anything that works logically. I'm going to just move and let myself be moved. That doesn't necessarily need to be conscious, but I do think for about 75%, it really is. It's just, I'm going to do this other thing because logic is just getting me into trouble. And for some, though, it might not be conscious. It's just that they just don't even notice. They just are being creative and intuitive and not necessarily thinking about things. But for any masculine-oriented being, person, human, whatever you want to call yourself or anyone, that's where it's going to work. That's where the victory is. That's where the win is. The win is in the wands for the masculine for November. It's in the passion. It's in the drive that seems to be the natural drive of things, and not necessarily of the mind and of the intellect. And there is a creativity there. You know, I feel like there's some music around this King of Wands, some kind of musician energy. And it's fun and it's playful. And it's very, very cool. I feel as though the feminine's going to be a little bit unavailable to him throughout this period. But this is fine because the King of Wands is kind of facing in this opposite direction. He wants to take it out. It feels like it's kind of like him in the world. For me, in this spread, when the figures are looking away, when they show up in the position, you know, where they're looking makes a difference. The orientation, the perspective. So out here, this is his world, you know, away from. I believe that it's like this is the heart, and then the extremities are out here. You see, so it's like you look within, and you look to your clear mirror. You look to the relationship. You look to another. We go within, and then another becomes apparent. You see, there are many others over here, but it's more like this is the world. This is kind of like it's a lot larger, you know, and so he's presenting himself creatively, really, to the world and yielding results. And whether he knows it or not, it is this divine energy that's moving through him that is guiding him. And he hasn't been here before, you know. It is connected to the general thing that's coming up at the moment of this kind of oppression that the masculine is kind of feeling the relief. I think there's some kind of relief that the awareness is coming to the surface, and this is very, very powerful, because then we become creative. Then it's as though then life starts using us to do its work. Nature starts using us to do its work, because we don't think we know better. And when we kind of hold our hands up and say, yeah, I made a mistake, we free ourselves up to listen to others and to be moved by life, rather than thinking we know how to move it. And this is a subtle shift that's happening gradually for the masculine. The feminine, this is a big, big deal, this 6. This is a big deal. This is this idea in this card of sailing out of the choppy water into the clear water. And I do feel like this is the feminine moving out of oppression, but who's taking her out of it? It is the masculine. It's very interesting, because we do everything together. It's always a mirror. It's always masculine, feminine. It's always the same thing. We have masculine energy and feminine energy within us. It's just aspects of ourselves playing out in these characters all around us. But it is that the masculine, and this kind of like wand that he's using, if you see in this picture, in this card, it's as though he's punting her with this wand. You know, it's a card of swords, but he has a wand in his hand, yeah? So it's as though this energy is helping to transport the feminine into this clearer water. And there isn't much for her to do but sit and wait still. If she then chooses to start working things out and thinking about things and getting angry about things, I feel, or, you know, still feeling trapped, I feel as though there are a lot of people that are going to be like, well, I'm still feeling trapped, you know, he's not doing anything, nothing's changed. Or maybe it's that, you know, people couldn't see it before. We couldn't see these thoughts that we were having, or we couldn't see the oppression. But I do want to point out that in order for there to be an oppressor, there has to be an oppressee. There really has to be an oppressee, and it's a delicate subject, and it's difficult to explain. But there are always two yin-yang flip sides to a situation, and one needs the other. And so the more the feminine focuses upon being oppressed, the more oppression she's going to find. It's just the way we are. We experience more of what we focus upon. And we always have a choice. If she's looking to this cage it seems like she's in, then she's going to experience that. But if she turns her head to the side, she can see, well, if she turns her head to this side, she'll see the choppy water. If she turns her head to that side, she'll see the clear water here, you know? So it is all about your focus and perspective. But what I want to say is that the feminine, all she needs to do is just relax. And maybe loosen up a little bit, loosen up her head, take a 360-degree view as much as she can. But the masculine is stepping up to her aid. He is taking that action to take us both into clearer water, as in to clarity, to take away the muddiness. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's going to continue to evolve and unravel throughout November. And I feel like there's a shift very, very quickly. All this stuff that gets revealed, it does its job fast. There's little catalysts through to great stuff. the masculine finds this victory, and it's victory in spirit. It's victory even in spirituality, in creativity, in, and for those that there may be, I do feel there's quite a lot of people where they feel that there's this logical masculine and then maybe this emotional feminine, or this spiritual feminine and this kind of like non-spiritual masculine, or non-believing, or just not, focusing upon that kind of thing. But it is as though there's a shift with those kind of masculine. There's a shift into passion. The power of and victory in passion. Passion, I really feel it's passion in those ones. This Ace of Cups has been very, very present for the feminine. This Ace of Cups is true, pure, new, unconditional love flowing through you. And as I said at the beginning, you are a unique vessel for love. This is the embodiment of that. This card is the depictment is depicting that. It's saying you are a vessel for this beautiful divine love to move through you in your unique way. And all you need to do is be who you are, be open to receive and to give generously, and allow this beautiful emotion to flow through you. It is cups, and it is emotion, and it's new start. It's always new. It's always presence. And there's such serenity and peace here, and there is a movement into peace for the feminine. Very early on, it's happening now. This is very, very now. But she does need to, it will happen, but she can experience it faster by not trying to work things out. In this situation, in her relationships, and in life. This reading very much feels like it is kind of an archetypal or, a very general idea of what's going on between masculine and feminine, because this is playing out on a larger scale at the moment. You will have your own story playing out in the most beautiful way within this too. And that's for you to kind of dive in and extract. And I love that. But remember, we're moving towards joy. Joy and freedom and self-expression is the theme to November, and we are moving into this. So when we reveal new things that we might not like about ourselves and about the world even, and the way we've been operating, it is liberating us. Got to remember that. Sometimes it can feel like, one thing's happened, or another thing's happened, or another thing is happening. Things are being revealed. This is kind of Scorpio season, and it's a very powerful one. It's all about revelation. It's about endings and beginnings. And spiritual, the spirit and the unseen and the unknown. And it's powerful. And that's where love lives, in those unseen, unknown spaces in between. The feminine's kind of on fire. She's got this Ace of Cups. It's so beautiful. That serenity and that peace in that card. When I go into it, it's just stunning. And this is a peaceful card. This 9 of Pentacles is all about feeling abundant and secure. She has everything that she needs. You have everything that you need, I promise. Sometimes it's not necessarily clear, but when she's a vessel for this love flowing through her, it manifests in the material world. This is the material manifestation on a 3D, real, tangible, touchable, feelable level of this love in herself. So the body grounds this in the material world, and the experience of that support that power is there for the feminine. There's a surrender that happens though. There's a big surrender that happens in this card. I do feel as though the feminine has to kind of like put down her weapons. And I do feel like this is what's going on now, and it's a beautiful, very, very powerful thing. There has been, and there still is, a power struggle basically that's been going on between masculine and feminine, and aggressive and receptive, energies playing out. It's perfect, it's powerful, it creates power, this meeting of opposites. But we have had our weapons out, you see. If we use weapons, then we get it gets messy. And I feel as though the rise of the feminine got a bit aggressive, got a bit masculine, I gotta have my swords out because there's this big guy that's watching over me that's more powerful than I am. And so I need to I need to make sure I have my swords. And it's kind of like the intellectual sword. This is like the intellect. So she had this like intellectual sword and understanding that she was trying to wield. And that she thought she knew what was going on, And it's kind of saying, you got to put those swords down. You got to surrender your weapons. And you got to surrender your intellectual understanding of what you think this is. And then the love just starts to flow because you're not resisting it. But she may need to look at some of her thoughts before she can lay them down. This is kind of what I was saying recently about how as soon as something gets revealed on one side, the other side has something revealed to them too. There are always two sides to every story. And so when something comes out on one side, more information is gained on one side, more clarity and information comes out on the other. And so the feminine is realizing some things about herself and her thoughts. But really bigger than that, greater than that, it's not even that detailed. It's just she's putting down her weapons. She's surrendering her intellectual weapons and her thoughts about how she thinks things should be. And then they start moving through. And this is the same happening for the masculine. Until this 7, which people that follow me will know, is it's a sticky card for me. It moves around. It has lots of different messages. But generally and mostly for me, it symbolizes trying to run away. The reason why I think I find this card sticky is that it feels like it's the deserter to me. It's this interpretation that I have. I'm going to go into this because maybe it's relevant. There's a book that I read a while ago called The Siege, which is a fascinating book and is very interesting in terms of masculine and feminine energies and war. And it's basically a story. I think it's kind of like, it's like a semi-fictional story about the rise of the Ottoman Empire, which originated, around kind of like Turkey and spread and was a huge empire with these huge, very powerful leaders. And it was about warfare and how that kind of evolved. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating read. I read it a while ago, 10 years ago maybe. And these tents remind me of that. And maybe this is this kind of like feminine, oppressed feminine in me that gets kind of riled by something it's very interesting. I'm going to go into this. So it's as though there is this camp and this guy is running away from the fight. And he's stealing weapons to take with him, though. And it feels like it represents the masculine giving up the fight for the masculine, for war. And it sounds strange because within that story, the masculine wasn't very nice to women. Women were just objects that could be sold and used to aid men whilst they were fighting. But it's as though, but he still achieved, you see. It was like, you can't abandon, I suppose it's the team. And there's something interesting here about the masculine breaking away from war, which is great. But what annoys me about this card is that he takes the weapons with him. So it's like, oh, I'm not doing that anymore, but I'm going to take all these weapons with me. And so it's kind of like there's nothing really changes. It's like there's this illusion of change. So it might be a bit of a slow process for the masculine to put down his swords. He is stepping away and running away and moving away from war. And I mean this in a real, very real way. I mean real war, and I mean battle, and I mean it plays out in so many different ways, but it is kind of like battling the feminine. He's stepping away from the battle, but he's taking the weapons with him. So it's just like, be aware that that's what he's doing. He's still holding on to some of these thoughts and ideas, but he is choosing to not fight. And I think that is honourable. But he's got to, if he doesn't let go of these ideas that fuel conflict, if he doesn't feel safe enough to put down his weapons, and the same thing's kind of going on with the feminine, but she just does it, he's going to be weighed down by them. They weigh us down. And it is kind of his logic. It is the intellect. It is the thoughts. It plays out in so many different ways, but he has these thoughts about her, and he's in a way, it's like he's saying he's stepping away from that, but just there are still some thoughts that drive that behavior. So that's something to be aware of. But it's happening, it's happening. This is causing a shift and will cause a shift in the way that men work and career. I really truly believe that there is a massive shift going on right now in the way that we work. I'm aware that I kind of live within quite a spiritual community and place and deal with people that are unique and are committed on the most part to living a life that is in alignment with who they are and not necessarily the status quo. But the way that we have structured society right now is outdated. It's very inefficient. So this is why this takes time. This little play out between masculine and feminine, and this coming into harmony in this relationship to one another, in your relationship. Because the shifts are huge. When we decide to put our weapons down, we experience that vulnerability,
we find this clarity, we can see things more clearly because we're not fighting anymore. It really shifts life on a massive scale. And so it's suddenly, you know, the way that the masculine works and spends his time on a practical day-to-day basis, he's pausing, stopping, taking a look and having a think. Is this working? What works about the way that I've been operating in my career, in finances, in the practical application of my skills? There's a shift. And it's a big deal for him, because this is where he's felt kind of powerful. And it's very fascinating. It's happening for the feminine too. She's really been rising into her independence, but you know, realizing that she's really coming to power practically. So the feminine's trumping the masculine in terms of finance and practicality so far here with the 9 against the 7. There's a little bit of pause for thought here for the masculine in terms of his career, which makes sense, you know, especially with this. This is a big deal. This is like, you know, passion. I want to say that here, there's meeting here for the masculine and the feminine. There's contact. Very clear. Victory in passion and unconditional love. But it will only be harmonious. The feminine's being asked, has a big ask. Like the feminine, if she's not really in this flowing love, that's how she meets him. He finds victory in that. That's all he's really interested in. That masculine energy really responds and is responsive to this pure, unconditional, beautiful love. It almost feels like a kind of like a motherly love, you know? And she gains this win. It's a bit like he wants to share the win with her. Yeah? But if she's still focused upon, you know, this thinking stuff and not here, then it won't work. And then massive for the feminine, death. It's transformation. There's transformation. I feel a lot of transformation on the masculine side. The feminine's kind of used to it. It's a bigger thing, but she's used to it. The feminine truly in November is stepping into a very, very different world. She's dying to the stuff that she doesn't want. She's realizing that she is so supported practically in earthly terms. This really is about the bringing together and the anchoring of this love and this emotion and this power of feeling and knowing in your waters. It's like, you know, this knowing that she's known about the masculine and she knows about love, and I'm talking about you and your relationship now, like your masculine, feminine. It's like you believe, you don't need, the doubt disappears because you step into knowing, and then there's a completely new world for you. There's a new world for her. And I'm excited to see kind of what's happening on the other side. But it's a death and rebirth time right now. And it's just let go of things. The easier you let go of things, the easier we relinquish control and we relinquish thought. Thought is not going to help you throughout November at all. You know, just don't bother trying to work it out, trying to find the logic of it. It's just gonna cloud things. It just won't work. It's not working right now, logic, for us. When problems arise. So the crown I want to go for is the 7 of Cups. and the root is the Hanged Man. So yes, it does feel as though there is quite a bit of separate energy here, that there's very separate narratives going on. There is communication. Communication is free. We're not blocking one another, but it's just that there are very specific kind of stages and things that are going on that we need to kind of be with ourselves for. And so it might feel as though things aren't moving as fast as we would like. There's a reason for that. We need to be clear about what we want. This is about illusions and delusions, dreams and reality. There are lots of different roads that we can go down, lots of different options. Things might seem one way and actually be another. We are kind of in the dark, but we have to be brave to go and enter these different realms and these different worlds. But we do need to be clear about what we desire. If you don't know what you want and then you go looking for something, it's not an efficient way to get onto the right path. So the waiting, if it feels like nothing's happening, it's that you're being given extra time to clarify what you want. So take that time. It might not feel comfortable, but you want to make the right choice. And it may be that you don't know. You've got to explore some different options. This feels like it's how it's going to play out. It's how you want the future to go. It feels like that. It feels like there's a kind of crossroads and there's lots of different roads you can go down, and it's like, don't make any rash decisions. And if you feel like anything in life is going more slowly and as though you're kind of being suspended and not really going anywhere, get curious about this upside down perspective, because there are other things that life wants you to see, and you are being guided to your destiny. This is about a victorious blast into freedom. We are collectively and individually moving into this bright freedom, and we're getting better at looking at the things that are in the way, looking at the barriers that we have to love, to this love. Wow. I knew when I said that the feminine was trumping him right now. I said at the moment. Because he then is kind of presenting himself, talking about the way that we present ourselves to one another as the King of Pentacles. He is practically loaded. He has means. He has ways and means. And I like this for the masculine. It's a true confidence in his material power in the world. He has always had this. He has always had a very good grasp of the material. And it's kind of why, men within business, within finance, this is a generalization, but, it's like, if you look at it statistically, it makes sense that he is able in these areas. But I feel like this King of Pentacles has a newfound respect for the feminine. But it's like the feminine within him as well. It's the unseen, you see. It's drawn. This King of Pentacles is not just isolated. He's kind of like born of the King of Wands. It's this intuitive. It's the intuitive of spirit masculine that's going to be the success, that's going to experience the success and be able to join and merge and present himself to the feminine in a very powerful way. The feminine part of himself and her and the divine feminine, his divine feminine counterpart. He moves through this. He finds his true material wealth and he integrates it in with himself. It's not that I have this wealth and this practical support and means, and that's all I am. He didn't want to just be that, to just be the money man or the security. He didn't want to be that. And now, but he is the King of Pentacles though. So it's that he doesn't need to be the security because she doesn't need him to be anything. But he is greater than her in this circumstance, in those terms. But he is not using that as a force of control anymore because he can't. He just can't. But interesting that this is very interesting. The feminine, this card is all about missing the wealth and the light and the assistance that is available to us. These figures are missing. They're just walking past. They're feeling out in the cold. They're feeling poverty. They're feeling lack. But there's all this joy and warmth and beauty and light in this church here for them, and food and comfort and love. And so this is a very, very strong message that the feminine may not be experiencing that. She does need to, and this is very, very interesting because I do feel as though it is that the masculine in general and in this at a level in your personal relationship has used his personal power in the material world, which is just a collective thing. In a kind of like, in a controlling way that made him lesser and her lesser. But now he's presenting himself as that security. She does need to turn her head to it. It's a little bit, it's very, very subtle. The feminine has everything that she needs over here, and she's going through a massive process of transformation. I mean, it's huge. Get ready for it in November. You know, it's beautiful. You got this. You know, you got that running through you, feminine. But there's a massive process of transformation going on. It's going to be like another new thing and another new thing. But there is support here for you from the masculine, but you're going to need to kind of find it. I feel as though a lot of people are going to be experiencing, but no, it's not there. 100% trust me, it's not there. There is no practical support. There's no actual material manifestation of him in this place at all, of this support, of this whatever. And I completely understand that that's the perspective, you know. But it's just, we got to just, it's like turn your head. It really is just like turn your head to the side. Turn your head to the side. And you'll see it. It is about these shifts in perspective and finding clarity of our desire so we can move into a fastest expansion and joy. But what I love about this king is that he's not arrogant. He's not using this. He doesn't think he's any better than anyone else. He authentically knows his position, and he needs to, in the material world, and wants to share. But he knows that it's not, it's born of life and fire and of the divine. He shifts his perspective. It's more whole and more holy, I can say. It's like a holy material. It feels massive. It feels like we're bringing the holy to life materially. I don't think that was reversed. I just turned that card. Somebody might have seen that, but oh look, I've done a bit of a shift. We've had a bit of juggling with the cards. So now bottom of the deck is showing up as the Nine of Wands, which is brilliant. This is like an extra level. After that, there's some vulnerability, We're stepping out of our comfort zones into a new place, into a new world. And it's going to be a vulnerable time. And so just be gentle with yourselves and others and with the world, Don't be so quick to judge, because everybody's kind of being brave, yeah? In this new world. But again, now we've kind of healed this little middle pentacle game. And we got to remember that it is just a game. The king, it's all about giving and receiving, and truly understanding within our world and within any conflict or any perceived idea that there's rich and poor, or bigger or smaller, better or worse. That is a truth. We can measure things. We can measure wealth. But it's what wealth is what you want wealth to be. It's your level, what you want to be abundant in. This idea that somebody has an abundance of something that I have, they can have an abundance of love or an abundance of attention from that person that you want. My abundance, my pentacles are attention from this person, yeah? And you can have this perception that somebody else is getting more of that than you. This is kind of like your practical desire. But it really is just an illusion. It's just a moving around of things. It doesn't matter who's the king and who's the queen and who's the 7 tens, Like within the tarot. So what I love about it is that, yes, it has like top trumps that kind of have more energy, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it has all these numbers. But they're all equal, all different and equal, just like us. And we truly, truly are. But sometimes we play different roles. Sometimes we're the giver, sometimes we're the receiver of energy. And it is this receiving, though. It does feel like the feminine needs to feel okay receiving support from the masculine. But the shift is that it's not about power anymore. This is a huge deal because it's very powerful collectively and individually, and it's why we're coming into harmony and union again in a massive way. Because the power struggle is ending. It might not look that different, but when we stop using and abusing money and material wealth or practical power, earthly power, when we stop using that as a weapon and we stop using that to control others, we realize we start to share freely. It's not about power and control anymore. It's about, I have something you need, and I freely give it, and it doesn't mean anything about any power struggle. And it is a big collective thing that's been impacting your individual relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to play out in a financial way. It's the idea of security. It's the idea of security. That's what I feel Pentacles feel. They feel like security because they are of earth and grounding. Grounding things in tangible ways. So we're getting to grips with it. We're becoming loving, and we're anchoring love in these kind of pentacles and these gold coins that we, move around. It's a game. It's very much a game. But when we can see it as a game and play with one another nicely and not make it this power thing, then we just become much more generous with one another. And I do feel as though we're coming into balance and peace. Balance and peace and awareness and joy. And I'm not sure if it's been that clear, but there is vast communication and ease and easiness. We're really moving together to peace, because it's as though there were these opposing forces. I believe this and you believe that, and they're different and they're opposing, and it's just, I'm in my truth, you're in your truth. What do we have to share? What do we have to exchange? And this is the key to world peace and to peace in our hearts, so that we can then just be who we are and be with the people in relationship with the people that we're meant to be with, where there is true love. It's anchoring and experiencing love in a material way, in a way of the world, in a 3D way. This really is about anchoring the 5D spiritual understanding in what we experience as the tangible physical world. And this is why it's extremely powerful, and this is why what you're doing is very powerful. And if you've gotten to the end of this video, which I wanted to be shorter but is long still, thank you. And yes, I'm holding my webinars this month. I'll put the link in. There are still a few spots left, especially on the 11/11 webinar, if this is the beginning of the month for you. Powerful. 11 o'clock Eastern time, 11th day of the 11th month. It's a day of peace. I'm British, this is Armistice Day. Which is a celebration of peace. It makes complete sense. We are, it's like, grab this peace. And I'm very, very excited about holding group readings. So the webinar is going to be a group reading. So very, very, it will be very scaled down to the group. And then, if you so wish, a personal reading, which you share. So it will be shared with others, because it's a very, very powerful way to learn through others. And it's about stepping out of our comfort zone and sharing ourselves in this way with others and trusting others. This is really what this is about. This is about trusting others with our spirituality. This has been a big thing moving through me recently. It's going out into the world and trusting others with your passion for spirit and love, and not experiencing shame around your feelings, because they might not be appropriate socially, or you're afraid that they might hurt other people. It's you really truly cannot hurt other people by being who you are. But sometimes you have to kind of learn how to communicate who you are in a way that isn't so that it can seem destructive at first. And it is a process of learning, and getting confident in sharing yourself in a different way. I hope this is making sense. But it's for those people that I feel like a lot of people have a bit of a double life, either around, say, even like tarot, or like psychics, or I don't know, or even religion or your spiritual life, and other work, or segregating things out, or within your relationship, because it's not appropriate in this scenario, and so it's like some kind of like secret life or secret love or secret experience. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you want it to grow, you've got to give it more space, and you have to integrate it into your life more. And so it's kind of just up to you. But I feel like it's a great opportunity if you're sharing your experience with others. You don't need to give a lot of detail, but it's just that process of sharing connects us. For me, it connects us in this love, in this experience of unconditional love. And you're not the only person experiencing this. And I know you know that, but there's something about when you discuss something, it becomes more real. When you say I love you, it becomes more real. There's a message again. I keep looking at this Ace of Cups, and so there's a reason why I've been rambling on for this end here. And it's because there's a message for you if you've gotten this far through the video, that this is about saying the words. It is about the practicalities. It's about living it. You can know someone loves you, but if they don't say it, and they don't show it, and they don't express it in their being, it's just not as wonderful, And it is vulnerable for us to do that, but I would like, and I'm trying to create a space for you to do that, and I'll hold your hand, So that's what the webinars and the group work that I'm moving into. There is a date in November that I will be holding a public reading, for the first time, doing something in public. So I will be letting you know about that. So this is interesting, people I'm going to be working in a different way to speak face to face about this, with the general public. And so, it's just, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and communicate. Communication from this place. When the Ace of Cups is present for me, it's kind of like, as long as love is flowing, you speak that. Don't be afraid to communicate and speak that love, and speak how you feel. It's very, very, very important. And you cannot go wrong with that. You cannot go wrong. So, all right then. So much love. This is a very long video. They've been very long. I appreciate your time. There's just a lot of stuff that wants to be delivered. And thank you for receiving, listening, loving, and yeah, I shall see you very, very soon. Have an incredible month. I am available for private one-to-one readings for those that are really wanting to get clear, because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get clarity. If you want clarity, that's what a private reading will give you. So those are available too. That link will be there. As I said, a few spots left for the 11/11 webinar. So get on that if you feel that drive. And I appreciate you. You're so special. Never ever forget how special you are in the world. There's only one you. This unique you that love flows through is so powerful and so beautiful. And I appreciate your presence. I bow to your presence. Lots and lots of love. See you very soon.